Gayatri and 3 Sai Gayatri. Um, Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Shanti Shanti Shanti. I offer my most humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of our dearest Swami. Thank you, Swami, for blessing us with this wonderful opportunity to have a Sai Satsang this evening with my dear brother Arnel Ramdath. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce Brother Arnel to you all this evening. Even though our association with each other dates back 34 years from our time together at Perthi School and Hostel, we have known each other more closely since the last 4.5 years as we meet every year during our annual North American Sai alumni meet. Brother Arnel is a multi-talented personality with ability to play multiple instruments par excellence. He can sing beautifully and also talk about the glories of our dearest Lord Sai. In spite of all his talents and skills, he comes across as someone who exemplifies simplicity, humility, and is an ideal and role model Sai student. Today, he will be taking us back in time for a wonderful journey through the 1980s and 1990s by reliving and reminiscing some of his most beautiful memories and Sai experiences from his times as a Sai student at Perthi School and Brindavan Institute. He will also share with us some of his most cherished experiences from his trips to Kodaikanal with Swami in 1993 and 1994. At this point, I would like to quickly read a brief bio of Brother Arnel. Brother Arnel is originally from Toronto, Canada. In 1986, upon Swami's behest, he joined as a grade 8 student at the Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School, Prashanti Nilayam. He graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce from the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, Brindavan campus in 1995. He later completed a Global Executive MBA from the prestigious Bocconi University in Italy in 2010. Brother Arnel was a member of the Perthi and Brindavan bhajan groups during 1990-1995, playing tabla and naal. In 1994, he realized his childhood dream to sing bhajans for Swami in Kodaikanal. Brother Arnel has been a long-standing member of the SSIO. He served as the National Bhajan Coordinator for North and Central Regions, SSIO Italy. In 2004, under the SSIO Canada, He led a young adults music offering to Swami in Prashanti Nilayam. He has conducted over 100 bhajan workshops, speeches, retreats for SSC children, young adults, Sai centers, and bhajan groups for the SSIO in Italy, Canada, USA, West Indies, and India. He currently serves as the devotional coordinator for Ishwarama Sai Center in Trinidad and Tobago. I would like to stop here and hand over the mic to Brother Arnel. Over to you, Brother Arnel. Sairam and a warm welcome.
Sarah. Tvameva mata pita tvameva tvameva bandhu चसका त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वम् मम देव देवा श्री साई देवा श्री साई देवा. Offering my most humble and loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Dearest sisters and brothers, Om Shri Sai Ram. I pray to Bhagwan to use me as his instrument as I relate the tunes of my life that I have enjoyed as his devotee and as a Sai student. Through Bhagwan, even this lifeless computer comes to life and connects us in more ways than one. I'd like to thank Sai Mandava for the wonderful introduction. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, brother.
You can see on the screen that I've put Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam. O mind, contemplate incessantly on the Guru's feet. I think that before beginning, given the circumstance that the world is in at the moment, we should offer a few seconds of silence in prayer to the essential healthcare workers that are putting their lives at risk day in and day out, and a prayer to those who have been struck by the disease, and to the families who have lost loved ones. May Bhagwan grant them strength and solace. So if we can all unite in a prayer for a few seconds and send out a strong prayer to Bhagwan. Sarah. I go back to the first slide here, and this evening I will be presenting many recollections that I love to call enamored memories of Bhagwan. This is the first photo that I think that we have with Bhagwan. You can see Bhagwan is speaking to my father. It's in December of 1980. And there I am, a little tot, maybe 7 years old at the time, beside him, kneeling up as if Swami is speaking to me. That was the beauty of Swami, was that it wasn't important. You just got that chance and you took advantage of it. So I was, as a student, I was actually very um, lucky to get that opportunity to jump at a lot of opportunities with Bhagwan. This is our family picture. Um, you see my father, my mother, myself, and my sister seem to be distracted. And this was maybe a couple of years before my mother passed away. Our journey as Sai students started in January of 1986. Just 3 months prior, our mother had passed away from cancer in Toronto after having been given a 6 year extension of life from Bhagwan in 1979. When he materialized Vibhuti and told her that her cancer had been cancelled. But alas, her time had come. 3 months later, we found ourselves in his refuge in Prashantinilayam. I was 12 at the time, but I had already decided that I wanted to be his student. After all, how difficult could it be to leave one school and join another school, but not just any school, but Bhagwan's school? I wanted to be his student. As we sat in the sanctum of the interview room, as soon as Swami looked at me, I blurted out my desire. I said, Swami, I want to study in your school. Swami immediately, he broke my heart and he said, no, too many government restrictions for visa. I, I had tears in my eyes and I stifled them, a lump in my throat. And I swallowed hard because, I was embarrassed. We were in the public interview room and I didn't want, people to see me get emotional. So I just sat there quietly with a million thoughts going through my mind and wondered, what am I going to do? I wondered, how am I going to manage? I don't want to go back to Toronto. I don't want to go back to that house without my mother there. My heart quickly sank. As soon as we entered the private interview room, Bhagwan turned to my father and he said, bring them back in June to study in my school. I was shocked. Swami had immediately countered what he had said just a few minutes ago. So my father asked Swami, next year, June, because it was already February of 1986. Swami said, no, no, it's February now, March, April, May, June. This June. Then Swami turned to me and he said, and he explained his previous denial to me and said, outside room, people will create problems with the government. Don't worry, I will take care of it. I am now your mother. And Swami went on to chant the same mantra that I began with. Twameva mata chapita twameva. Twameva bandhu chasika twameva. And this is what Swami chanted to us while he consoled my sister and I. Sisters and brothers, this was the first step to realizing a dream with Bhagwan. As per Swami's instructions, we returned in June 1986, and my sister and I joined as students. She joined in first standard, and I joined in eighth standard, what we know in the Western system as grade 1 and grade 8. I can't hide that it was very challenging coming from a Western society, Western mentality, Western ways of being brought up, Western schooling, Western lifestyle. It was very challenging to suddenly live in Prashanti Nilayam, in India, in a hostel, where you knew absolutely nobody. But this was further compounded by the fact that we had recently lost our mother and we were still recovering from that. Added to that was now the fact that we were also separate from our relatives, the only family that we ever knew. It was challenging. But Bhagwan, in his infinite love, mercy, and compassion, saw to it that whatever we needed, Bhagwan ensured that it was taken care of. In fact, these two photos that you see on the screen, the picture on the left was probably a month after we had joined as students. And you can see that, my sister and I, we don't really have happy faces. Our faces are a little bit sober, especially my sister. If you look, my arm is around Swami. You can see that there's a little spot on his robe. And that spot is actually the tears from my sister crying and Bhagwan holding her and consoling her. Bhagwan's compassion knew no bounds, and true to his promise, he compromised many hostile rules, many rules that the students were living by for my sister and I. Of course, at that time, we were young, we were children, we didn't know, and we didn't comprehend what Bhagwan was really doing for us. Even for my father, it was difficult. I was fortunate that, you can see in the background, you can see the virtual background, you can see the mandir. And in those days, we used to sit inside on the portico. And I used to be so fortunate that wherever I used to sit, Bhagwan used to come straight to me and inquire about my well being. I was very young and small and, you know, innocent, and I actually did not know how to speak to Bhagwan. So when Bhagwan would come and talk to me, I would stay seated on the ground, and Bhagwan would bend over almost a full 90 degrees to speak to me so that we could hear each other. I was none the brighter, and I continued to speak that way until some of the teachers advised me, that perhaps you should kneel when Bhagwan speaks to you so that you can make it easier for him to also, so that he doesn't have to bend over to speak to you. But Bhagwan himself never, ever said a word. That's how compassionate he was. He was more interested in my well being than his own. On one occurrence, if you look at the second picture, you can see that I had learned the lesson where, I would kneel up to speak to Bhagwan. So, on one occurrence, when Bhagwan asked me about my well being, I casually mentioned to Bhagwan, I said, Swami, the food is a bit spicy for me. I can't, it's a little too spicy for me. And Bhagwan, mercifully, sorry, he called the hostel warden and he immediately instructed him that every day I should be given special food. And believe it or not, this happened for the next 5 years. Even as I grew bigger and more adjusted to the system, every day for the next 5 years, I had special non spicy food. On another occasion, when Bhagwan asked me how I was doing, I casually said to Bhagwan, I said, Swami, I miss my sister. Swami then went to the headmistress of the primary school where my sister stayed, and he told her, he said, every Sunday, take his sister to see him. Now, this was a no-no. No Psi student sibling, once you were separate in the hostels, were allowed to meet each other. So it amazes me today that that we didn't know, or we didn't realize, that these rules that Bhagwan himself had broken, or compromised, I should say, just for our well-being. That is the benevolent Lord that he is. And I'm truly grateful to Bhagwan for all of this that and more that he's done and did for us. We're also grateful to the teachers, because obviously we put them in a spot, in a very, very difficult position, because at times they too didn't know. Should they compromise the rules or shouldn't they? Well, Bhagwan has done it, so should they also do it? So it was a tough time even for them, and I'm truly grateful, for the discipline, the guidance, and the love that they shared with us. Moving on, Bhagwan, as I had mentioned before, promised my sister and I that he is our mother and father from here in. So it so happened that in my first year as a student, a few months later, um, I fell sick, quite sick, and I hadn't gone for darshan for a week or so. And Bhagwan was inquiring from the hostel warden about my well-being, and this did not please Bhagwan that I was sick, and he felt that that I wasn't being taken care of. So, I mentioned earlier on about a computer being inanimate and connecting all of us. So similarly, sometimes when we see certain objects with Bhagwan, inanimate objects, it brings back so much of life to memories. And one of these objects is actually Bhagwan's red Benz that you see him standing with here, ADA 90. I have quite a few experiences with this car, because while I was sick, one day Bhagwan suddenly turned up at the hostel. I was housed in the sick ward, and Bhagwan walked in, came to the sick ward to check on myself and a couple of other students that were also sick. Unfortunately for me, however, I was fast asleep. I had a very high fever, and when the boys came, when they attempted to wake me up, Bhagwan instructed them not to. Of course, later on, when I came to know about this, I was extremely disappointed on having missed this rare opportunity, this rare blessing. However, which mother will go to visit a child and will go empty handed, will leave them empty handed? And true to his motherly nature, Bhagwan made sure that when I awoke, I found apples, a pack of Viva Health Mix, and of course, his signature medicine, his Vibhuti. On another occasion, we were following Swami to Uti. Now, Uti is a hill state, it's a mountain. And are you able to hear the audio?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. So we were following Bhagwan up to Uti, and our wonderful taxi had no horn, and it had no shock absorbers. And we had to go up a 2,000-meter mountain. So obviously, we ended up falling severely behind Swami, and it just didn't work out. So when we were returning, we came to know that Bhagwan was going to leave the next morning, and we decided that we wanted to leave a little bit earlier so that we would wait for Bhagwan at the bottom of the foothill. And this way we'll be able to follow Bhagwan's car. So we woke up really early in the morning, and left about an hour or two before Bhagwan. And then sorry, as we got out and waited at the bottom, we came out to stretch our legs. All of a sudden, Swami's red Benz just zoomed past us. So we quickly we jumped back into the car and we just took off at a speed to catch up with Swami. Shortly after, Bhagwan's car pulled to the side, and Swami's attendant, Brother Rupak Changakoti, came out and he asked, he said, is there a Canada boy here? Now, Canada boy was my nickname. That's what Swami used to call me. So I followed him. I followed him, and he said, "Look, Swami's calling you." So I immediately ran to Swami's car, and as you can see from this photo, Swami was sitting there. This is just a reenactment. It's not the actual photo. Swami sat in the car and was sitting in his car, and he asked me. He said, "Did you all have breakfast this morning?" And only then it occurred to me that actually we hadn't. We had woken up so early, and following Swami, being in his proximity, that satiates you. You don't need anything else. We didn't even realize that we hadn't eaten yet. But there is the compassionate Lord. Once again, showing his omnipresence and showing his love. So when I said to Swami, no, we didn't have breakfast, Swami then provided a tiffin carrier full of upma. And the quantity inside this was enough for the rest of the 5-hour trip. So much so we didn't have to stop for food, we just continued to follow. For those of you who don't know what a tiffin carrier is, in the center of the picture beside Swami, that you probably, those of you who've been to India, you've probably seen people there walking with this. So it's a bit of a carrier where you place the food inside, and you put them in the separate compartments. And this was full to the brim, and Bhagwan gave it to us. Again, this red car one day casually strolled into the Hillview Stadium. And for those of you who've not seen the Hillview Stadium, it's there in my background. So we were actually about to run a 400-meter race, the finals, and we were on the track when Swami's car suddenly rolled in. So, we got all excited. We got especially invigorated when we were told that Bhagwan has said, whoever wins, the top 3 winners, will get an immediate prize. They will get Pad Namaskar. So I was like, wow, I have to do something to win this race. So the race started, and I sprinted. I took off as if I was crazy. By the time we reached the last 100 meters, my legs were like lead. I couldn't move. My muscles had stiffened. I couldn't cope. Excuse me for a second, sorry. Sorry about that. I couldn't move. My legs, like it felt like each one of them was 50 pounds. Anyway, worse than that was that I started to see other boys overtake me. So one boy overtook me. I was like, oh, okay, I still have second place. Then another boy overtook me. I was like, okay, I'm still in third place. But then a third boy overtook me. And I was like, oh my God. I gave up. I lost focus. I lost focus. And a split second, something happened. One of the boys in front of me tripped and fell. And as he fell, I was now in third place back again, with somebody coming up on my side, almost neck and neck. I was like, I quickly regained my focus and I made one final push and I crossed the finish line in third place. And I was as happy as I could be. But I was also in a lot of pain and I ended up collapsing with a lot of cramps in my legs, cramps in my stomach. Observing from his chair, Bhagwan started to become restless, and panic set in amongst the teachers because by then this was a year and a half after I had joined. And the students and teachers all knew that Bhagwan had made special took special attention when it came to my well-being. So Bhagwan was physically distraught and actually started to scold and reprimand the hostel staff and the school staff for having permitted me to run the race. And here comes the big revelation. Bhagwan told them that I had asthma and they should not have allowed me to run. Now, no staff member knew that I had asthma. My father did not know I had asthma, and I didn't know I had asthma. In fact, it would take a few years when I had gone back to Toronto and I was being checked for allergies that I was diagnosed with having asthma. So this picture was when I I came in third place and I got this coveted prize from Bhagwan, but at the expense of a lot of teachers. Many times, as we see Bhagwan's beautiful form, we fall into the illusion of his human form, and his words are so conditioned to our literal understanding and the English language that we interpret it to be. Every so often, something happens that makes you realize that he's beyond time, he's Kalatitaya, and he's beyond the language. It is truly dependent on our own faith. I've heard devotees say, Swami said he will call us, or Swami said he will do this, or Swami will said that he will give me that. And Swami, to their disappointment, he didn't do it. And I too have sincerely fallen victim to this Maya. And I would like to share an experience with you which occurred over 20 years of time. It started as a student and it finished very recently. And I say finished because of the point of realization. So during my undergrad, Bhagwan mentioned several times that he would give me an MBA seat. And I was so ecstatic. My joy was not for the educational degree and title, because I can earnestly and truly say that I had zero value for education. The only value education brought for me was that it gave me the proximity to be a Sai student near Bhagwan. It gave me that blessing of being in his proximity. That was the only value. My father and I, in fact, I think we got into many heated discussions on this because he would tell me, "You're here for your education." And I would say, "No, I am here for Swami." That's another topic by itself. But when Bhagwan would say this, it meant to me that I would have another 2 years of his proximity in his business school. Now, eventually, due to circumstance, this didn't pan out, and I was left heartbroken as I was compelled to leave. But before departing, Swami instructed me to return to Toronto and do an MBA. Truthfully speaking, this disturbed me, and it was not what I had interpreted from Bhagwan. And I'll repeat that. It was not what I had interpreted from Bhagwan. I made the mistake of conditioning his words and time to my understanding. So, after successfully being rejected by three business schools in Toronto, I had resigned to the fact that I would never do an MBA. And it bothered me. It bothered me that this was Bhagwan's final instructions to me, and I was unable to fulfill it. 13 years passed from that day when Bhagwan mentioned it to me, instructed me, sorry, and I decided to apply to a non Canadian school. I applied to the newest program that was there in the Italian school in Milan. And I'd like to just make mention. I know there are a few Italians who are connected this evening. My Italian family, buonasera, buonanotte a tutti e voi. Siete la mia famiglia, carissima famiglia. Sono sempre grato a tutto quello che mi avete fatto e come mi avete accolto. Sairam. Excuse me for that. It's very late there in Italy. It's past midnight. So I'm guessing a few of them will be disappearing soon. And I really wanted to just say a few words to them to thank them for all they've done for me. So coming back, I had applied to this school in Milan, and I had to write a GMAT exam. It's a requirement for business schools. And I flew out to Italy, and I attended this exam. I went to write this GMAT exam. Now, the GMAT exam there are two parts to it. There's a written part and there's a computerized part. So while doing the computerized part, all of a sudden, current went and the systems went down, maybe for a minute. When everything came back up, we had to go backwards in the tests and whatnot. So fast forward now, and when I got the results, I was very disappointed because I had not gotten the required minimum, to get into this elite business school. But I noticed a discrepancy, and that discrepancy was in English. My written English, I had received the second highest grade that you could get. But the computerized English, I had barely passed. So I contacted GMAC and I contested my results based on this logic. They accepted that there could be an error and they allowed me to rewrite the exam. This is in 2008. So this is 13 years after Bhagwan's last instruction and 15 years from when Bhagwan started to tell me, I will give you an MBA seat. Sisters and brothers, I kid you not, before I could go back and retake that exam, I received an acceptance letter from the business school. on the death anniversary of my mother. And this is what I consider Bhagwan's grace and how Bhagwan kept his word of giving me that MBA seat. It was my misinterpretation that I limited his words to my understanding. So the thing, the underlying lessons that I learned here was actually, it actually goes beyond that. And the reason being is because Bhagwan is Kala Kalaya Kalatitaya. He is time, he is the Lord of time, and he is beyond time. Bhagwan knew that I was from the West, and I probably needed a Western education for a Western future. But the funniest thing is that the program that I had entered was actually a global executive MBA, which was actually higher than what the schools in Toronto had rejected me from. So when you surrender to his will, when you have that faith and follow his instructions, eventually everything will work out. Just have that faith. There's a beautiful bhajan, Pati Shura Sati Sai Shura. There's the lines, Bhavasagaro dhara bhuvanavana Sharanagatatrana Narayana Daya karo Sai Narayana Shri Sai Narayana. Surrender to him. He will help you across the ocean of the world. Surrender to him, the compassionate Lord. Excuse me. So I've shared quite a few experiences as Bhagwan, being the savior of the world, or as the famous song goes, Jagadodharana. But Bhagwan also has a very humorous side to him. And I'd like to also share some of those, smaller incidents. On May 2nd, 1994, we had a unique opportunity and a unique blessing from Bhagwan. He graced us by taking us on a picnic with him in Kodaikanal. This was the first time that Bhagwan was going in decades on a picnic, and it ended up being the last time that Bhagwan went on a picnic. Either we were extremely disciplined and Bhagwan enjoyed himself so much that he didn't want to go with anybody else after that, or perhaps we were so bad that Bhagwan didn't want to risk it with anybody else. Either way, it was a phenomenal experience for us. So in these pictures that you see here, you can see that the top right, behind where it's a little bit whitish to the top left, that's actually a waterfall. And right by Swami's left hand, you see a little white piece again, and that's actually another waterfall. And that waterfall breaks into a stream. So Bhagwan wanted to cross that little stream and go to the green patch that you see there and stand there. And Bhagwan wanted to do that, not because there was something for him to do for himself, but because he wanted to go there to stand for us to take pictures as part of our memories. So as Bhagwan approached this little stream, he bent down, as you can see in the larger picture to the left, and he cupped his hand and grabbed some water. And he said, "Boys, boys, look." So we all immediately ran to Swami because earlier that day in during the picnic, Bhagwan had manifested the Kohinoor diamond. He had also manifested the Hiranyagarbha lingam. So we thought, wow, Swami was going to do something exciting again. So as we leaned in and got close to Bhagwan's hand, Swami then showered us. He sprayed us with this water. And he laughed. He broke out in a laugh. It was, it was like looking at a child who successfully pranked another person. This is how Swami behaved. So I have a small video clip. I don't have the exact moment caught, but I have when Bhagwan was crossing over and he bent down the second time again to try, and fool us. But of course, we just laughed. So I would like to share that with you. So I'm pausing the video here for a second because you're going to get an idea of what it looked like. There was about 40 students, and I think Swami invited another 20 guests. So all in all, there was about 60 of us plus the Sevadals, and you're going to get a glimpse of what it was like in the middle of the forest with Swami. But there's something that I would like to point out and show you, and that is that when the camera goes around for you to see, listen very carefully. We are in the middle of a forest, and Bhagwan pointed out something to us. He said, "Where are the animals? Where are the noises, the birds? We're in in the middle of a forest, but there's complete silence." And then Bhagwan revealed that because even the birds and the animals were having his darshan, just like us. So we weren't alone in the forest enjoying Bhagwan, but it was all these birds and animals too. So here we are at Sai Shruti in Kodaikanal. You can see behind me. This is Bhagwan's mandir or residence in Kodaikanal. To my left, well, to the side that I'm pointing, that is Bhagwan's residence and where we would stay. And then over here where I'm pointing is the bhajan hall. And some of us would stay on the top of the bhajan hall.
Brother, we lost your audio. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So many of you might be familiar with this photo of Bhagwan. I was blessed to take this picture of Bhagwan on the bus while we were in Kodaikanal. So the back end of this story is that actually the time in which this picture was taken, it was actually in the evening time and it was not sunny. There's actually no need for any shades for Swami to wear these sunshades. And again, this is to show you Bhagwan's love and compassion and his, easygoing nature at times, that this would be a usual, a traditional thing that Swami would do every year. He would put on the shades and let the students take pictures with him. It was once a year. I think somebody opened their audio. No, we're good. Okay. So as we sat on the bus, why I say that this picture is a blessing from Bhagwan is because the actual picture should have looked like this. And this is how we typically took pictures of Bhagwan. We aimed the flash directly at his face. For some unknown reason, while I was taking these pictures, I decided I'm going to aim my flash at the ceiling. Now, I've never had this thought before. I've never taken a picture of Bhagwan like that before. And lo and behold, when the picture came, you could see the students sitting across Bhagwan, that beautiful tone of his skin, that natural tone, the level of detail of his face, of his beautiful face, the texture, the contours, it caught everything. So I consider this photo his blessing. And these are the simple things that Bhagwan used to do by putting on the shades, which made him such a down-to-earth God, if I could say that. I'd like to share another incident where Bhagwan, we were in Kodaikanal, but it actually began a little bit before Kodaikanal. We were in Trai Brindavan at the time. After undergoing I hadn't been feeling well, and after undergoing some tests, I learned that my blood count was off. As this was just before it was our imminent trip to Kodaikanal, I didn't want to jeopardize this once in a lifetime trip. So I didn't disclose my illness with anybody. But there's a song that was actually composed in the US. It's called Hold On. And it goes like this. When things are getting tough and enough's enough, say his name, see his form, hold on. And sisters and brothers, that's what I did. I held on. I held on to my faith that when the time was right, Bhagwan would intervene. So we have now gone to Kodaikanal, and I started to get sick again. And I was unwell and didn't go for darshan. Unable to bear the pain any longer, I decided, okay, the time has come. I need to speak to Bhagwan. I need to inform Bhagwan. After all, Sai Pita aur Mata Sai Deen Dayala Data Sai Sai Pita aur Mata Sai. So that night, I wrote one line to Bhagwan. I said, Dearest Bhagwan, I need to speak to you about my blood test results. And I went while Bhagwan and the rest of the students were having dinner. I went upstairs and I sat outside his bedroom door. And this is the photo of where I was sitting. When Bhagwan came, I kneeled up and without saying anything, I just gave him this one-line letter. Bhagwan looked at it, read it quickly. He looked deeply into my eyes and he half smiled. And then he closed the door. And that was that. The next morning, after breakfast, as we sat around, I sat at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Dr. Narendranath Reddy was also present that day. And Bhagwan started to tell him about my blood test results and started to confer between him and I about my symptoms and diagnosis. So the divine doctor was now at play. Swami then told me not to worry, that he will take care of it. A few days later, while traveling in the bus once again, Swami inquired about my well-being. He then materialized 9 tablets. As you can see in the photo, this is where Bhagwan was sitting, and these were the tablets that he materialized. He instructed me to take 1 tablet each day, starting immediately. So, as I swallowed the first tablet, and I was literally right in front of Swami's face, it was really, really bitter. And sensing my anguish, Bhagwan said, it doesn't taste too good, does it? So I just nodded, Swami, you know, right? And that compassionate Lord that Bhagwan is, he called for his tumbler, his glass of water, and he offered it to me. I refused because that was Bhagwan's glass of water. Reading my thoughts, Bhagwan knew that I was reluctant because that was his glass of water. And if he wanted any water after that, there wouldn't be a clean glass for him to drink from. So I refused. The all-compassionate Lord that Bhagwan is, what did he do? He took the glass and he took a sip and he said, I'm good now. I won't need any more water. I'm done. You can drink it. And with that saying, he gave me his glass of water and I drank it. That is Bhagwan, ready to sacrifice even that little water that was there in the bus that was for him. Shortly after, we returned back to Trai Brindavan, and this is inside Bhagwan's residence, the Jula picture that many of you must have seen. And exactly 9 days from the first tablet that Bhagwan gave me, I was cured. My blood count was completely back to normal after those 9 tablets. For those of you that are in the medical field, you know how long it takes to bring your blood count. My blood count was basically 3 times above what is the normal level. And if you look closely at these tablets, Swami actually gave me vitamin C. When I look at this next photo, it reminds me of the very many opportunities that I had to serve Bhagwan, but also to serve his sevadals. And I say serve his sevadals because that's what we were doing. At the end of each rotation, when they would finish their seva, Bhagwan would come to bless them with Pad Namaskar, Vibhuti Prasadam, sometimes calendars, sometimes photos, and sometimes sweets. On this one occasion, excuse me, On this one occasion, Bhagwan was giving these Sevadals, had called us to distribute this very gooey sweet. And it had no shape, no form. So when you put your hand inside, you had to carefully take it out and give it to each person. Now, typically speaking, when we are doing this kind of seva for Bhagwan, we have to move with speed. Because while Bhagwan is giving Padnamaskar, we are expected to finish distribution of whatever Bhagwan is distributing. So while I was doing this, it was myself and another student, and I realized that I had to move slowly in order to serve this prasadam in a dignified manner. And I'm repeating that, in a dignified manner. And I'll come back to that because you'll understand why. The other student that was distributing it was, moving with pace, like, as is expected of us. So Bhagwan saw the two of us, and Swami suddenly, called out to this boy, and he chided him for how he was distributing the sweet to his devotees. Swami then told him, look at me. This boy is from Canada. He comes all the way from Canada, and look at how he's serving my devotees. Now, at first, it didn't occur to me what had actually transpired. But as I thought about this, I realized, see, those who do seva for Bhagwan, they've left their families, they've left their homes, they've left their lives, their jobs, and they've come to dedicate themselves for 30 days only for Swami's work. They've left high positions, low positions, no positions. they've left everything to just be there to serve him. Think what dignity they have, they deserve. Whenever we do anything, we are doing it on Bhagwan's behalf. And similarly, in the Sai organization, whenever we do anything, we are representatives of Sai. So it is important that when we do these things, we have to do it with a certain level of dignity, a certain level of love. And, tying into this, going back to Kodaikanal, actually, this now comes to mind, seeing the image behind me on this side here, where you see the Bhajan Hall. It so happened that in 1993, I also had a chance to go to Kodaikanal. The only difference is that Bhagwan didn't take me with him. Bhagwan actually asked me to come to Kodaikanal and meet him there. So, because my father was coming. So Bhagwan had asked me to wait for my father and then come and join him in Kodaikanal. So when we went to Kodaikanal, one evening I was sitting right here by the balcony, by the railings here. And, typically what happens is that whichever students go with Bhagwan, they don't mix with the other students who are outside. So there's no interaction. Swami doesn't permit it. So I was considered, one of the outsiders because we didn't travel with Bhagwan. And as I sat there one evening before bhajans, sorry, one of the students from the inside, one of the bhajan boys, came to me and he said, Bhagwan has asked you to join the bhajan group. I was thrilled. As I mentioned, we weren't allowed to interact. We weren't allowed to mix or see or be. That meant, wherever Swami goes, the bhajan group is always right in front of Bhagwan. So from sitting outside by that railing, I was now having the opportunity to sit just a few feet a few meters from Bhagwan. This was a cherished opportunity. And it so happened that there was a few music programs as well, and Bhagwan had told the boys to instruct me to play for those programs. So I got those opportunities as well. Why I'm mentioning this is because at the end of the trip, on the last day, the boys came to me and they said, Bhagwan has asked you to come for dinner this evening. I was astounded. You know what? I was so happy just to play bhajans. Now I was being summoned inside Bhagwan's residence to have dinner with him too. And I wasn't being summoned as a student. I was being summoned as a guest, as Bhagwan's guest. Later on, I came to know what was the reason. The boys they shared that Bhagwan told them that every evening I played with them. I had joined the bhajan group and I had played. And for the music programs, I came, I practiced with them, and I played. And Swami said to them that it is gratitude that he must be given dinner this evening with us. It is out of gratitude that Bhagwan himself did that. See, there's no words. That gratitude, that how can Bhagwan have gratitude? We do it honestly out of selfishness, just to get those opportunities, to be with him, to play for him, to be close to him, to be in his proximity. But Bhagwan takes our gratitude to a different level when he himself demonstrates that gratitude. And similarly, that is the gratitude. If I did that just for a few nights, and that too just for half an hour every day, imagine these sevadals who are doing it 24/7 for 30 days, what kind of gratitude Bhagwan has for them. An important lesson that Bhagwan taught us. So with the utmost gratitude to Bhagwan for these treasure trove of love and joyous experiences with him, there's nothing I can ever do or say that could repay or express how sincere, how much gratitude, the infinite gratitude and love that I have for him. Bhagwan doesn't expect anything from us because that's selfless love that he has. That's unconditional love. But it is our duty. It is our duty to have that love. It's our duty to have that gratitude. And how can we do that? It is by how we serve the Sai organization. Bhagwan didn't tell us to have an organization and then do what we want. The organization is there, and that is the springboard for us to do many of opportunities, many a things in his name and in unconditional love. And this is the gratitude that we can repay to our beloved Mother Sai. I would be remiss if I didn't thank another Sai, and that is Sai Mandava, for having invited me to share these memories with you. But there's also a degree of self-service, because each time we are asked to speak and we go through pictures or material to look to share, we always come across memories or realizations that we didn't have before, or we just simply forgot. So thank you to all of you for being here this evening. I hope that these experiences have inspired you to continue to follow and serve Bhagwan, to continue to follow and serve the organization, and to remember to keep and continue to have that undying faith that when the time is right, things will happen. Things will happen just as He wants it. After all, He's the divine puppet master. We have moved from the form to the formless. Back to what I want to say, the form full. Why? Because Bhagwan has always said from the time that he started the organization that the objective of the organization is to realize the divinity within. And Swami says that we need to see Him in every person, which means there actually is a form, and that form is each one of us. The only problem is we need to reform ourselves and transform into realizing that. I'd like to end with a small video, once again in Kodaikanal, and once again, this was during the picnic. The videos you've seen today, I did not share them from the picnic. I have not shared them. This one that's coming up, I have already, but I would still like to play it because I had the opportunity here to play Nal when we sang Jab Koi Baat. And given the day that yesterday was, that's one of the most apt songs that comes to mind when we think of Sayaradna Mahotsavam. But the joy to see Bhagwan playing talam or majira, coupled with the meaning of this particular song, brings back heartfelt memories. The sun shining on his face and bringing out his beauty, Sai Sundara. I would like to end with this last song. May Bhagwan bless us all, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Stay safe, stay home, and save lives. Jai Sai Ram.
ये सदियों का कोई आज की बात नहीं, तुमसे मिलकर हुआ यकीन, हम पहले भी मिले कहीं, सिलसिला ये सदियों का कोई आज की बात नहीं, बात कर जाए, सब मुश्किल कर जाए, मुझे ना साथ मेरा
Thank you so much, Brother Arnel. We are all so blessed. This is our Swami's Aradhana Mahotsavam observance going on, and what a beautiful opportunity to have a satsang with you. And we have heard all the time Swami's love of 1,000 mothers, right? But to hear that as a first person, and even the Vedas, they say love, selfless love, divine love takes out anything, even dharma or right conduct type of issues. Love trumps everything. And Swami has shown that in your primary school days, middle school days, how selfless love trumps everything else. It's coming straight from the source. And that was so beautiful to hear. In these times when we are locked up inside, you took us on a beautiful picnic. Oh, thank you so much. It was so wonderful to go on a picnic with Swami, and it's unforgettable event of our lives. The situation we are in made this picnic outing as memorable for us as it was for you going on the picnic. Definitely. And the other beautiful message you gave us is of the 9 pills. I wonder what those 9 pills Swami is showering on this Mother Earth right now to cure her of this pandemic. And probably gratitude from all of us to Swami is one of the 9 pills. And you gave us a beautiful lesson of gratitude. And I should say that this program is being watched by people from multiple continents. You are in Trinidad. Thank you. And thank you to the audio visuals to have worked throughout the program. And you are in Trinidad. We are here in North America. And people from Europe, New Zealand, Costa Rica, like multiple continents, people have been able to enjoy your program and have these heartwarming stories of Swami and end with the beautiful song. So thank you again. And I'm excited. I'm kind of a little sad that it has to end. You're a very busy person. You have to take care of your center and your center programs. He has a beautiful Ishwaramma Center in Trinidad, Ishwaramma Sai Center in Trinidad, beautiful building. The only solace is that we're going to meet you again tomorrow. So thank you again. And a couple of housekeeping